Okay. Hey everybody, thank you and welcome to another stream event, particularly around our BIPOC Rock Anthology that the C3 group, Columbus Cartoons Coalition, is nearly about to put out. So with us, we have a few of the contributors, myself included, as well as our friend Kyle, who's also an exec board member and in charge of the anthologies, who also helped us put the book together because you cannot rely on me for math. So, anyways, let me introduce some of the guests here we have right now. We have Javier, we have Chandu, and we have myself and Kyle. So we are the Fantastic Four or the Frightful Four, depending on your mileage, tonight that are going to talk a little bit about this little small anthology effort. And then, maybe there might be some news gearing up towards the end of the year coming soon as far as C3's efforts. C3, formerly CX3, now C3. We're just going to keep it simple as C3. All right. So with that being said, everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. There we go. I was like, that's the cue. Everyone talk. our mics are not working. Oh, no. Abandon ship. No. Okay. Anyways, we're good. All right. So, so what we have in store for you tonight is a couple of readings. There's just a couple of samples from the anthology. Again, it's like a BIPOC Rock is the tentative title. When you see the logo or the cover page that Kyle might be able to share with you here shortly, it'll make more sense. Okay. So, it's all made up of mostly Columbus or Ohio-centric creators of various ethnicities, multicultural, and that are on the spectrum in regards to BIPOC, origins, and with a little bit of Columbus, point of view. And everyone brings their own voice and their own style to these entries, and it's really nice, eclectic variety of cartoonists and comics. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Right now, we've got Kyle who's sharing the screen. This is our cover for it, and if
I
you
want
recognize,
to interrupt you because you're burying the lead. This cover was designed by our very own Hunter. So, it turned out great. I love it so much. So before we get even past to the cover to page one, we need to acknowledge your contributions.
Okay.
I kind of ran point as my official title is project manager, so my job is just to kind of keep the trains running and keeping everyone kind of on the same page as far as like specs for the pages and putting the book physically together and all that stuff. But Hunter was kind of helping me with the content and getting everyone kind of answering any questions about what kind of goes into the actual creative part of the book. So again, that was in addition to contributing some excellent pages we're going to cover later. That was Hunter's additional contribution on top of that. So shouts to our fellow exec board member.
Thank you. Yeah. So basically, Kyle, fired up the bat signal, made sure the batteries were working, and I went around in a mysterious trench coat, going around and giving out cards and trying to recruit people for the book and everything like that. So, it was a regular ensemble, coalition effort of getting people. So, the BIPOC Rock cover was inspired by obviously Schoolhouse Rock, and I just kept having Conjunction Junction playing around in my head, and it was so nagging that it wouldn't go away. And I was like, you know what? Let's do something fun and let's have something a little more cartoony with a little bit of texture. And this is what came out, And so as we scroll through, what do we have? What do you want to show first, Kyle?
Well, before we kind of get into the actual content, and I'll leave the table of contents up here just so people can kind of get an idea of how many stories we have in our contributors and everything. So last year for CXC, the C3 coalition created a anthology that we kickstarted. It was full color. It was several dozens of pages. I can't actually remember the page count off the top of my head, but that was kind of a more how to say kind of a premiere anthology that kind of had a whole bunch of different stuff in it. It had 3 different sections, and it was kind of built up throughout the year. We are planning on doing another one of those that we are kind of in the process of putting together now for the fall. But in the meantime, we wanted to make sure that we still had output that highlighted our creators and the amazing artists that we have in our stable. And these kind of black and white, shorter page count anthologies kind of give us a chance to kind of do some kind of targeted highlights of the people we have. So the out of the gate, we kind of did a mini version of that with our coloring book that we did last winter, which I believe, did everyone on the stream contribute to that? I know Sean.
I don't think I did, but
Remember if you
that
did
does
or
sounds
not.
like.
I didn't want to call you out, but I was trying to.
But it sounds like it was a really nice.
We'll probably do it again because it was a lot of fun, and I hope you're
Yeah,
able to
definitely.
do that one. But I'm
Sweet.
thrilled that you all three of you were able to contribute to this one because I'm such fans of your work, and I want to talk. I want to talk about what each of you have going on right now. But I think what I'll do is we're just going to kind of go in order, and we are going to feature on this stream a live reading of your contributions to this anthology. And here we go. Right off the bat is Shandu. Can you read that? Okay, I can zoom in if you need.
No, I think the way you had it was better.
The way I had it was better.
Yeah.
That way you get to show off. Oh, look at that. I mean, gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So good.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me again. So can I do a quick intro about what this is?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So without going into a lot of detail, the end of last year was a hard time for me and my family. There was some events that happened. We had a loss and like a diagnosis that that caused a large lifestyle change, and so lots of grief to go around. So this was part of my way of processing it, and the anthology became a perfect vehicle for me to set something up for that. So this is called Grain of Grief. Sometimes grief is a grain of rice. You see, rice is a keystone of the culture I grew up in. It's not just a meal staple, it symbolizes wealth and abundance. Rice is food, and food is sacred. To disrespect rice is to incur the displeasure of the goddess of prosperity and invite the embrace of the goddess of destitution. To be told then that the rice I was eating was slowly and surely destroying my body was devastating. It was like being told that walking was harmful or that water was poison. So sometimes grief is a grain of sand, or all the sand and all the sea. But here's the thing, you survive. There's the dreams, the smells, there's the feeling of being lied to by the world, being cheated by your own body. But each day you wake up, you choose, and you survive. Sometimes grief has the grain of wood, hard to cut against. But your body knows its truth, and you are not alone.
Oh man.
Thank you.
I mean, I loved reading it. Hearing you read it I love it even more. It's
Thank
so
you.
good. And I, being kind of relatively new to expressing my art in a public way, I'm learning to kind of be comfortable with exposing myself, and I still kind of hide behind fun, colorful, cheery stuff. And I love how just open this is. And I understand that this is specific to a situation you're living through. But I also think the way that you present it and the way that you write about grief is extremely universal. And I just well done. And pairing it with the visuals that you have, I'm really impressed by this. I showed it to my wife. She loved it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is not something that is usual for me either. Like I said earlier, this is a very specific place, and I think and the relatable part of it is we've all been through the last 2-3 years of varying stages of grief. Like we've been affected personally or like tangentially, and it had been bubbling for a while. So I think with the theme of this anthology in mind, just being a cult, like a BIPOC anthology, I was like, okay, maybe I can highlight my culture, and like, what should I do? And then I was like, okay, this fundamental part of my culture has been taken from me, So I'm like, yeah, I can write about that. So yeah, if you've, at least, I know some of the religious imagery is kind of, a little bit of a dicey thing. So yeah,
It's fine.
so
It's
but
part of who you are.
right.
Yeah,
So
no,
I
it's
was like, hey, if folks don't know, I could at least have that visual out there.
no, it's a
And I
beautiful
also do
story.
some wood carving on the side, so that was personal too. So yeah,
Oh,
that's how
that's
this
cool.
whole thing came
I didn't
about.
know that about you. That's super cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
Shandy, I love this story. It's beautiful, and it's
thank you.
weird. It's oddly reminiscent of similar experiences I had.
Yeah.
And I feel really bad alongside. Am I muted? Okay. Along, we're friends, and it feels like we both parallel. We're going through some very similar things.
Yeah.
Rice is a really, for lack of a better, no pun intended, ingrained part of all our cultures.
Yeah.
Especially right. So my doctor was like, switch to brown. Like I had to stop eating white rice. I'm like, I'm part Asian, right? Like this doesn't work.
Exactly.
Like, it's like like who doesn't have a rice cooker?
Yeah.
And then because of health reasons, like the white starch or white sugars, all that stuff, and then also losing my mom within the last
Yeah.
at the end of 21.
Yep.
Yeah. Your story is resonant enough. It's universal. There's nothing really niche about it. I think there's a lot of soul to it and a lot of weight to it. And
Appreciate
and it's really beautiful. And thank you for sharing this with us.
And thank you all for being open to being a vehicle
Yeah.
for me to express this. So
No, you. I was just been waiting for you to uncork. It's just awesome watching your growth. So
thank you. Yeah.
And for those of you that know, Chandy also helps me with the YACA, with the Young Adult Creators Alliance table. So both our daughters were creating comics at the same time. So at Space, they had their own booth, and they were all their little entrepreneurs. And we're bringing back the YACA table. So I hope to see you at Space in some fashion, or just hanging out with us in our block, our C3 block, and our YACA block. So
yeah, please. Anybody who's watching, please check out Space.
Yes. So beautiful. We can get into the process later on if you want to, or if you want to continue
that's
reading.
fine, because I don't want to leave Javier hanging.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I also I want to come back to this because I do have questions about your art process.
Yeah, us little art process tool nerds want to know about
We'll
this.
table that later, because I know we can all probably talk everybody's ear off about that. And just fortuitously, the very next page is Javier's. So, Javier, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of the genesis of this page, or do you want to just go right into reading it, or however you want to present it is up to you, my friend.
I'll just go right into it, and then I think it'll give some context to it. Give some backstory. Yeah. Okay. Howdy. Hey, thought it was you, Xavier. Right. Actually, it's pronounced Javier Lavigno. Oh, okay. My bad, Xavier. No problem. But it's Javier, like Mexico in Spanish, Mexico. Oh, I didn't know it could be pronounced that way. Javier is so much cooler. Yeah, sure. Nice. What's your last name again? Lavigno. Vagino? It sounds so exotic. Huh. That, and just rinse and repeat that this comic just goes.
Your comedic timing on this is great. I mean,
Thank you very much.
button on the end is fabulous. And you're there's so much I want to talk about, and I don't know how much of it is process stuff and how much of it is content stuff. So I want to try to keep it content related. Off the bat, I love your lettering and how you integrate the title into the lettering. Just off the bat, and the choice to kind of simplify the face of the person talking to you, so it's just kind of a blank generic. Bravo, fab!
Thank you very much.
I mean,
yes, applause.
that to me is comics with a capital C.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I mean that's cartooning, and I love that choice. Very, very well done. And this is my chance to embarrass myself because I called you Xavier the first time I talked to you in over one of these, and I'm sure it's documented in one of our live streams. So
And it probably wouldn't be the last, so don't worry.
give me a blank face and put me in this comic. I apologize, but the composition is so cool. I love everything about this. It flows really well, and
Thank you.
talk about that with process stuff, but the little zigzag that you always see like comics teachers talk about when they talk about eye flow and everything. I just draw that line through your word balloons, and it's so clear and concise and easy to follow. Just really impressed by it. And a little behind the scenes is that this was actually one of two things that Javier considered submitting to the anthology, and the one that he opted not to share is also, I feel, equally as good. So I'm excited for him to eventually put that out into the world at some point in some way or fashion. But I love this.
Well, thank you. The S flow just like it's seemed or kind of organic for this kind of structure. So I'm glad that reads for everybody as well, especially because it took a lot of troubleshooting for me just to kind of pull the veil a little.
Word balloon placement is something that I still struggle with, and I'm sure that's like a normal thing, but for me, I don't know. I need to do a little more pre-planning when it comes to that stuff.
And the other thing that makes this a little more special for me too is that I haven't really done traditional inking in since I graduated CCAD. So this was the first time I've used in like 3 years done like inking with dip pen, especially lettering. So this was like a more or less a several like achievements in one for me.
Well done. It turned out amazing. I'm
That's
scared
awesome.
to death to go back to traditional.
Yeah, I
scared
never
of that.
learned how to do it with depend lettering wise, so this is like
Oh
awesome.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I love how you like use that word balloon to also call out the title of the comic itself.
Yeah.
It just flows so easily.
And
Oh,
the
especially
byline's right below the title.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'm so glad that you guys love that because I love it for myself when I see that being done in comics. It's and not be like done in like a shoehorn kind of way, like the big two usually do, where it's incorporated into what is contextually happening. So thank you, I appreciate that is appreciated.
This page would make a great teaching tool. I mean, we just take that little red cursor, red pen, show the pattern, show the flow, point out all the things that we point out to. This is definitely a keeper, like as far as like all the methodology of constructing a page and
the
flow
framing,
and everything.
the simple backgrounds and framing, the way that your eye is drawn. I mean,
Yeah.
man, fabulous work.
Thank you.
I have
Now
so
for this, I'm so sorry.
I know it's okay. I have so much I want to ask about process. I'm really trying hard not to. I'm excited to talk about all this with you guys.
What do you want to say, Javier?
Oh, I was just gonna go into like the topic, but I didn't want to talk over you. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
No,
it's
go for it.
all good.
Well, so well, as far as like contextually, what the subject of the comic that I chose was, I mean, not to throw you under the bus, Kyle, but my name is not commonly pronounced correctly the first time, and I get some wild mispronunciations coming from elementary to present. Um, and I kind of used this opportunity to make a comic about the I don't know if it's universal in general, the Latin experience, or even like the BIPOC experience of having to settle with mispronouncing your own name just to exist in society, not and without like being a burden, you know. Um, and granted, like in this comic, I give several tries, and but like ultimately, you have to choose your battles, unfortunately. But um, I personally I follow the mantra that like ultimately, there people are capable of learning. It's whether they choose to, because if you can learn like Dostoevsky, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and have that be commonplace nomenclatures, you can learn Lavagnino and what an Enye looks like.
Yeah. Spanish is a beautiful language to learn. Being from Southern California, learning the alphabet, learning the grammar and things like that was just awesome. I've lost a lot of it because I don't use it as much, and it's something I want to get back to. But yeah, it just wouldn't work in environments where there was a language barrier. Taking my D grade in school in Spanish because I drew all the time, and actually applying it in real world and learning from people I work next to, and then perfecting the grammar, perfecting every department, that I worked in on how to say it in Espanol, as well as the alphabet and counting up to 100. It was just like a whole new world opened up to me, and people are really selling themselves short if they choose not to even like consider embracing another language or just the basics.
Yeah, it really kills me when I see people having to choose like a second name just to
Yes, I was thinking that. You said it though. Yeah.
Or like having like a Latin family like be first name their first generation children Anglo-Saxon names just so they can like flow through life easier. It is it's a little deeper like the just a one page like little haha comic that I did, but the fact that like you have to you don't have to, but like it's proposed that you have to eradicate portions of yourself and your history and culture and your family's history and culture just so that you can exist.
Yeah, not a deep dive at all. That's what comics are supposed to do. If a comic is doing this job in most cases very well, it's taking an image, whether it be one frame or a whole page, and being able to have a deep conversation and a deep dive and have a discussion, as well as like elaborate and get into the the weeds or into the grit about a subject that the comic is topical about. So I mean, well effective. It's very effective.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that comment, I think one thing that the synthesis of words and pictures, creating subtext that isn't explicitly on the page but is kind of explicitly on the page, one of my favorite things about comics, and I think this page does a great job of that. So
yeah,
thank you very much.
Well done.
I go the opposite way. I'm like hit it over the head, and like rudely, clumsily, like it's on point to the gag or whatever. It's like I leave nothing to the imagination, as we'll probably see here.
So far, I just do cartoon bears, so I'm right there with you. But unfortunately, the next contributor, actually the next two contributors, weren't able to join our live stream today. I don't want to speak for them about the work, but I do want to just quickly
acknowledge them at least.
Yeah, give them a little love. Yeah. So this is from Robbie Melendez, Raw on the Discord, and this is his story Homesick, starring Luna Cosmica y Cookie, or Cookie, excuse me, the accent's in the second syllable. It's a 4-page science fiction story about food, and couldn't preview.
Oh,
No.
spoilers.
You'll have to buy the anthology to read the rest. Really,
I could actually speak a little bit about this. In recruiting
Please.
Raw, talking to Raw about it, Raw was hesitant to join up at first because he was concerned about it's like, hey, right now, as a creator and artist, I'm in the vein of producing this type of work and all that. And when some people initially think about a BIPOC anthology or just BIPOC collection or anthologies or cultural anthologies, they automatically are worried that people are going to ask them for their trauma. You know what I mean? And I wanted to assure Ron and anyone else that the anthology is made up of very like many things. Some are topical in regards to the experience from the BIPOC point of view, and some are just representative of a BIPOC creator. And this is the craft I'm doing. This is the work I'm doing. We're not just one thing. Just like other comic creators aren't just one thing, unless you're the Dilbert guy. You know what I mean? Other than that, there's we create worlds, we create stories. I mean, like going back to the earliest cartoons and animation as well as comics, you'll find there's a lot of people of color and different, cultural backgrounds that had a hand in some of the great classics even, and so to think that a collection or a focus should only be trauma only or negative stuff, is like it's more than that. It's a whole spectrum. So
and Hunter, I think you and I probably feel similar about this. Like in this position that I'm currently in as a project manager, my role in this vehicle, I think as Shandu described it, is not to dictate what you create art about. It's to give you an opportunity to tell whatever kind of art speaks to you in the current moment and environment you're living in, and finding a way to make it fit to the theme of whatever anthology we're doing. But the theme was pretty much just you as an artist fitting into this collection. I don't give a lot of direction when it comes to content, because I think, as evidenced by this anthology, I think you get a really cool variety of tone, of genre, of style, of all kinds of things. Before we move on to our next one, I do want to just, because I know he worked so hard on it and he talked about it in our Discord, I want to acknowledge this background in this panel. Robbie made the entire, there was a file somewhere that is the entire storefront background, and he did all that hard work knowing that he was going to put this character in front of it, and I admire the hell out of that. Well done to the attention to detail. He even kind of blurred it a little bit. But I think the whole thing turned out great.
Yeah.
And Javier, I actually had this comment to make about you as well, because you and Robbie are two people who post in the Discord who use really vibrant color and really, really interesting color choices.
Yes.
And actually, Shandu, I've mostly seen your work in color. I think this was the first time I've seen your work in grayscale. So when we get to talk about process, I do want to talk about working in grayscale and black and white and kind of the challenges and benefits of it. But I really think that the presentation that he had for this is excellent. All right, I'm really hoping that now Jacob, I'm hoping that his pulls up here. I got the last 2 pages. So I guess we'll settle on those. And
These are beautiful pages, though. These
oh
are
my goodness,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
gorgeous. They're gorgeous pages, and
I'm afraid I messed it up. So,
You
No,
didn't have to.
it's
You didn't
happened,
have to
like-
pop off so hard, sis.
Yeah, somebody has to be the lemon of the bunch. I'll be that lemon.
Should I share? I mean, I have it pulled up locally, or
Yeah, sure.
I can
Are
try.
you able
I
to?
don't know if I can.
Can I present your screen? Is that a thing I can do?
You'd have to like give over control to.
All right, so I'll stop sharing my screen.
Mhm.
Okay.
Let's see.
So while you two figure that out, what I'll mention is just kind of piggyback off of what you were talking about, Kyle, as far as Javier and Ra. Yeah, bold color choice is always a pleasure to see, but then to see it in this monochromatic and just black and white, to see how strong the line is, how effective, just how you all are able to just like still bring that weight and bring that pop. And because the absence of color, it just lets some other parts of your process become the star of the show. Which is showing that your range, which is really, really a pleasure to see. So,
and not having to lean on color to for your compositions, like to direct your eye flow or anything like that. Just really impressive from all of you. I mean, honestly,
I'm having permission issues to share, so I can either jump off and come back, or
no, you know what? That's a little too much maintenance.
Sorry.
Let's just say buy the book and you can see all the rest of this.
You'll get to see the full thing. It'll be.
Yeah, I think it's just Gmail acting up. Yeah.
So,
well, and I'm sure I'm missing an update on my device.
Google Drive has been crashing for me all day long. So,
that's where I'm pulling it from. So it could very be. All right. Well, I will go back to sharing my screen then, and we will move on to our esteemed executive and his contribution.
Which one are we doing?
Hunter, we can talk about any one of these. You contributed, in addition to your fantastic cover, you contributed 5 pieces.
Did I? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, because the cover. I can't count. I told you I was bad at math. I did do 5 pieces.
This
really
was
bad at math.
This was a feature in a previous live stream, I believe. I think that one lives on Twitch. I don't know if that is on our YouTube or not.
It is on Instagram somewhere, though, because we tend to share a lot of.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So, Hunter, I'll let you pick whichever one you want. If you want to do a reading,
let's do the hair one. Okay, my eyes are kind of bad, but
Okay, do you want me to zoom in?
Yeah, just a little bit, the tad, and then.
Okay, and I'll scroll as needed. Do you need more?
No, we'll go with that. So,
all
right, okay. So let me see. I'm checking to see if she's around here. I started out with my wife, and she was just in the room. So, anyways, okay. So my wife doesn't like the beard I've grown. She says it's burly, itchy, gross. I mean, you think she was the one wearing it? She used to like the chin strap style that I had when we first met, but that's a lot of trimming, and I get too busy for that. She now would prefer I'm just clean shaven, but I hate it. You can see my double chin when I'm clean shaven. No more jawline. It's not like I have as much hair that grows on my head anymore. How am I supposed to express my own style, my individuality? Maybe I can just grow out the sides of my hair and face and go feral like an X-Men or mutant. Or grow a stash and spike up the sides of my hair, but that'd be creepy, no? I thought maybe I could go for an Asian Shaolin vibe, but that's more like Simpson comic book guy. Or maybe I'll just go the more permanent route and tattoo my head and really freak her out.
Yeah.
So this is basically as a Gen Xer, person in their 40s, what the 40-year-old version of me. What no one told me was I was going to go through a second puberty. Things were going to start like changing. I was going to grow hair in funny places like my ears, my nose, and they were just going to get like unwieldy. Meanwhile, the absence of the regular coif would go away. I would no longer have it on the top of my hair. I used to have this long, beautiful, curly, locks back in my metal days and grunge days. But so this is just about being like kind of like not comfortable with your body, which is as it grows and your metabolism slows down, and just kind of like trying to deal with aging, I guess, and stuff like that, and just life stuff. So but yeah, so basically no one likes it when I grow a beard. I don't even think my beard likes it because it doesn't do what I want to do. So
I mean, I've never been this ambitious with growing my beard. Based on how the rest of my hair works, I'm sure it would be stubborn and not cooperative as well. So I can sympathize there.
My dad had to shave 3 times a day because his growth, and so this like I could shave and it'll be back in a week. You know what I mean? So that's like the mutant power, a useless mutant power. So
yeah, there's probably an X-Men out there with that power, and so
I'm pretty sure there is. Yeah.
You just need to go to the school for gifted youngsters. Just talking about the presentation here. I mean, I'm a sucker for the repetitive panel for gag effect, and representing visually what you're saying to sell the absurdity of what you're talking about is terrific, and with your hand lettering and just how you kind of emphasize.
It's like the left hand of doom, unwieldy. So
you guys who hand letter I'm so jealous of you, and one day I will find time to practice.
No, I'm not Javier. Javier's using a dip pen and just slinging ink like it's like a boss.
Oh, you make it sound like it's so easy.
But yeah, so another thing I like about our anthologies is that they're a chance to experiment. So I've been wanting to embrace a more minimal cartoonist line, and I was just going back to basics because a lot of my stuff is very heavy-handed, over-rendered usually, and more serious, I guess you can say. And so I was just kind of trying to look at Ivan Bernetti, Chris Ware, even though like I like some of Chris Ware, but and I was told that I don't have a commercial style, which was making it hard for me to even get gigs as far as like when you submit to different comic publications, like that are when they do an open call and whatnot. And so I was like, let me just play with the whole 100 zines and mini comics journey that I want to do this year, and try and go to a minimalist and just try and have fun with cartooning again. And that whole serious other stuff is always there. I can always go back to that, the traditional stuff and everything. But let me just have some fun and just tell some stories or work out gags, learn how to do the 4-panel beats and stuff like that. So I'm just experimenting with process, and just so I can relearn and get back to fundamentals. So that's what this stuff is.
I mean, you say the word experimenting, and I immediately thought of your page here because so much variety on this just one page. I mean, there's
principles of design, the elements of art and principles of design. I was doing a study on that and teaching that in class. I was like, well, what would that look like if I were to put it into a zine format or a comic format? And how would I haven't done those in a long time. You know how you're supposed to study that in 101 or whatever? I was like, I got an F when I first encountered that in school. I was 7th grade, and I walked into class and she's like, cut paper and do all this. And she started throwing variety, all these terms at me. I was like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're talking about. And so she gave me an F because she didn't explain it to me. And I'm pretty thick-headed, and you need to break it down for me. You know what I mean? You need to show me a few things. And so I just got the F. I just took the F and took the few L's, and here I am trying to teach it to other people. And I'm like, well, let me see where I'm at with it again, So, but yeah.
It turned out great.
Well, thank you. It looks like a hammer, huh? I just realized it looked like a hammer. It was supposed to be a wand, but now, yeah.
Oh no, I mean,
it's kind of cool now. I wish I kind of did it a hammer now. I'm not like the master of tangents, as meaning that I don't know how to master to stop doing it. But I mean, oh well.
I don't know how my line ends up finding that other line that way, but it always seems to.
There's like those couple classmates. Oh, tangent. I'm like, yeah, I know.
You just gotta take that step back and like look for them.
Yeah. I'll put something away for a couple of days and then just come back and look for wonky heads and tangents and things like that. But
my worst enemy is making the page, putting the word bubble, and the only place where it actually has good word flow is creating tangents.
You know what? We got to keep them people busy though, right? The ones that like to look at tangents and spot that stuff
Right.
out. It's like a Happy Meal. What's a Happy Meal without surprises? You know, without surprise.
Give them
So-
a little checklist at the back. How many tangents can you find?
Yeah. So,
Yeah, no, that's well. Before we move on, Hunter, were there anything else you wanted to highlight with your contributions?
No,
again, the open
I am
tabs is
just-
another one that's got great variety.
yeah. Okay. I'll talk about the open tabs real quick because I'm still doing those. It's kind of like a new thing. So, and this people might end up taking this. Oh well. But whenever I get stuck or bottleneck on ideas, or if I feel like there's too much going on, well, every time I go to Google Chrome, right, it has suggested articles to read. So I'm like, these are like, and I have 20,000 open tabs. I'm like, that looks interesting. So I'm just taking the title without any context, usually, and then taking the title and then applying my own version of it. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll read the article, but for the most part, I'm like just digesting it to like it's like most diminutive, essence. And then so these are actual tab articles and stuff on my Google page, and so I was just like, right click, open tab, open tab, open tab, open tab, open tab, and I would just take the title and then draw like a little stupid cartoon for it. So
I think that's a brilliant prompt. Like I think that's
such a
brilliant
great
way to-
idea.
yeah, I was like, so looking forward to making that a lesson for people, to do like for curriculum and stuff like that.
So people at home, if you're stuck working on whatever project you're working on, just open Chrome like you were probably doing anyway to procrastinate. Look at what you were going to read or what Google wants you to read,
Yeah,
and just put your computer to the side and draw that.
make the algorithm work for you. Don't work for the
Right.
algorithm.
Love
But yeah,
that.
that's about it.
Put that on a shirt. I'll wear that. And then the Attack the Castle. This another gag strip that made me laugh.
I just wanted to draw a guy throwing a stick at something really large.
Man,
I have the
me too.
dumbest sense of humor. I satisfy myself first. That sounded wrong. Okay, anyways, but I mean, yeah, basically, I just if there's an itch, you just must scratch. So
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm just impressed that you picked a story that had a crowd in it because, man, I made a circus comic, and then as I was making it, I realized, oh wait, that means I have to draw crowds, and that was
they're so fun. You can do so much
they
storytelling
are
with
fun.
the depth of
Very
field,
fun.
the foreground, midground, and background, and people don't utilize it. I'm like,
You're right.
that's like a whole depth of field of storytelling you can do. All these gags and things you can put in, like think about Sergio Aragones or a Mad Magazine cartoon. You know what I mean? And yeah, you can. And then look what you can just do silhouettes for the other crowd stuff if you don't want to do it. But you can do emphasis here and there.
well,
It's
you
just
did
another
that.
tool. So
That like
yeah.
line familiarity where like the people are facing away, but the
Mhm.
focus is facing you and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Then again, I did do a wrestling strip for a while, so it's like you're drawing audiences. You just start doing light bulbs as heads and stuff like that. So.
That's why this is not about me, so I'm not going to make this a very long story. I'll just say that when I started Cornelius Armstrong, which was my Circus Bear comic, my first crowd scene, I was like, I'm going to draw all kinds of cool anthropomorphic such and such. It took me like a whole week, and I never did it that way again.
Okay.
Now I draw light bulbs in a stadium.
No, okay. I have a prompt for you for engagement with your fan base. You can always or your Ko-fi, your subscribers.
Yeah.
Okay, like give them like 5 options. Like okay, you get to pick what's happening in the crowd. I'll draw 5 of these things only. So if a kid had too much candy, I'll draw that. And just strategically place them, and then do your light bulbs around it. And then there you go, some social engagement, and you got some people that.
Hunter, are you talking about Ko-fi.com/Kyle Wendell?
Yes, I am.
That's what I thought you were talking about. All right, so
Okay, moving on.
I want to move on because again, this is not my show. This is your show, and I want to go back to the top. I have questions about the art, and we'll just start back where we started. Shandu, was this completely digital, or was there some hybrid involved, or
No,
what do you use?
all-
What program do you work out of?
I've been trying out Procreate for a while. So before that, I was using a software called Sketchbook with like a tablet and my laptop, and finally, saved up and was like, okay, I need the iPad. And,
I'm wiggling my finger. I'm gonna interject. You know why I'm wiggling my finger, Chanju? Because I still
yeah,
have your first sketch on my iPad when I gave it to you to try out.
Okay.
I still have your drawing still. I look at it. It's in my.
oh,
So yeah,
man.
do you remember that?
I do. I
Yeah.
do.
So
Yeah.
I had my iPad at a show, and Chanju was like, "What?" And so Chanju started sketching all that boss image drawing, and the next thing I know, he's doing this on the iPad.
You got to make a print of that and sell that as your first digital art.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I probably should. Like, yeah. I mean, and it was always like just very overwhelming to think about like investing in an iPad and like not having a process down. So like, so I went the cheap route and got myself like a graphics tablet, like a Chinese made one, and like, I had a computer, so like I was like, okay, I gotta nail down how I draw digitally, and then maybe I can like if I have a repeatable process, then I can like maybe extrapolate that to an iPad and then justify getting one. So yeah, because every time like when Hunter handed me his iPad, or like another friend would be like, hey, look, I'm drawing something here, you draw something, and I'm like, I'm scared to touch this thing, like I don't know what I'm going to do, like so yeah, it was very intimidating. So yeah, but then as part of having that iPad, like I got Procreate on there, and it's been really great. So yeah, some of the stuff that I learned in using Sketchbook, like I was able to you know apply in Procreate. But yeah, definitely a fan.
So was
Yeah.
it more intuitive than you at first thought? Like, because you went and you went and got a graphics tablet, and that to me has always been very unwieldy. I can't do it. But when I grabbed the iPad, it actually was more intuitive than I thought. So what was your experience when you finally got the iPad versus all that prep you were doing?
That's a good question. I think the prep still helped me. First of all, like to gain confidence in like just doing steady strokes, or like hand-eye coordination, whatever, like just the feel of what digital feels like versus paper. Like I tend to doodle a lot. Like before going digital, like pencil and pen and ink was kind of my medium. And so like being able to like erase and adjust, but then being frustrated with like not being able to wholesale start over, or like be like, okay, this I like this part of this thing, and but then this part of this other thing I want to redo this one small bit. Like that's hard to do with paper. So like I was like, okay, I want to do that. So I just went deep for myself, like building that intuition on how digital worked for me. um, and then when I went to the iPad, I felt more comfortable. So otherwise my fear was that I would jump into the iPad and like try to do the things that I was doing on paper on the iPad and then get frustrated, because that was my fear.
Do you ever still try to, when you go back to analog traditional, zoom in and zoom out, or control
Oh
like
yeah,
double click,
oh yeah,
double
tap to
tap,
undo. Oh
I'm
yeah,
double
all
tapping
the
the
time.
paper, or
I do
posting
that
it.
nonsense in public sometimes, and
Oh my
just
god, like
scroll
double
through
tapping the
the wall.
post it. Then someone brings you a drink instead. You're like, wait a minute. So, how
I
about you,
can
Rob?
I can attest to that because I have actually I had a moment when I was doing this comic where I needed to zoom in, and I found myself doing this.
Yeah,
I died a little inside.
I've caught myself doing that, and I just hope to God that my wife wasn't watching me.
The hard
She
the
would be a
worst
good
is
sport about it, though.
when you don't catch on, you're still trying, and your brain hasn't caught up yet to what like
Mhm.
you're like, oh, what's going on? Oh yeah, it's like the pencil behind the ear thing, So yeah,
Right.
but uh yeah, but beautiful textures, beautiful like tones. This looks so natural. Like if this was, obviously you said this was digital, but you still have such an analog traditional approach and aesthetic, in my opinion, when I'm looking at this stuff like that. And you started showing me things on iPad that I didn't know how to do, as I recall, and I'm like, wow. So Yeah, look at that. That looks
I'm
like a
obsessed.
real render. It is a real render.
I'm
But I mean,
obsessed with this water.
yeah. Are these?
It's
Did you
gorgeous.
do the buy a whole bunch of brushes, or did you just stick with the regular?
Just a regular.
Is that-
I
is that
forget.
all
Like,
town?
say that again.
Is that a pencil tool?
It's which one is this?
It's
It's
their
a mix-
sketch, right?
Yeah, it,
I think it's either the sketch or the Procreate pencil.
Gosh,
Yeah.
it looks
Yeah.
it looks gorgeous.
Is it
I,
the
yeah, the
peppermint?
outlines were pencil. I didn't
Yeah.
use like an inking tool on this, but then like the fill was, I believe it's called dry ink.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
just been
Mhm.
stuck with that. I mean,
Mhm.
like, yeah, I've been doing that for everything. Like it has a natural like graininess to it.
Mhm.
So like, yeah,
Very nice. Nice
it looks a lot
marble
more
background.
filled up partly because of the background texture.
Yeah.
And that was another brush, definitely. That was like a wood texture that comes with
Okay.
Procreate, I think. So
Nice.
yeah.
And again, just going back to kind of the comment I made about like when you go to black and white and you take color out of the equation, you kind of have to rely on your compositional strength and your values of light and dark and everything. The way that your eye is not going to start anywhere but right here. And then when you look back at the horizon, just how it gets softer as you go further back, just gorgeous.
Thank you.
What font do you use?
This one was one I downloaded from the font, but I'll have to look that up. I should have had that up.
Oh, it's fine.
Um,
I'll do the thing where I'll just type what I'm going to type, and then I just click down and figure out which one looks the best. And I've definitely played that arduous.
yeah. Yeah, I actually wanted to hand letter this. I wanted it to look a lot more like zine fashion, where
Mhm.
like in fact I wanted it to be a lot more typographical, where like the art and the words would flow around it, but that was beyond my skill level. So I was like, okay, I'll go with the font, place my words, and then see what I can do. And then when I put it in there, it was good enough. So I just went with it.
So I'll share a tip or technique that one of my classmates did when I was getting my MFA in comics. And
Yeah.
in fact, a couple of them would do this, and I didn't know. And they would get the font right or typeface in there, and then they would put another layer over it, and they would trace over that typeface
I did
to bridge the gap. So
Yeah.
if I don't know if that would help, but I mean, it was fun to explore at least. So
Yeah.
There's also sorry. There's also free tools out there for, that I'm aware of. Like there's a local comic artist that has a resource called Halftone Hospital, and they have an Ames ruler brush that is just you just use it like a brush. It's like a no pressure or anything, and it creates the
that
Ames
is?
guide.
Oh, I need that.
What?
Oh
Quick
yeah, no,
YouTube.
Halftone Hospital.
You were also referring to Victoria Douglas, who was the artist spotlight
Yes.
that
Yes,
Ethan
I am.
did. A fantastic interview with Victoria last week, two weeks ago, maybe. If you haven't watched it, go check it out.
She is magic.
Amazing, and they have an incredible discussion about open source resources like Halftone Hospital and like the philosophy behind that. Go check out that interview. Highly recommended. I saw the Ames lettering guide, I think like thumbnail image, and I was like, I wonder what that is. And then I moved on and bought page templates or whatever. But I need to go back and find that because I'm similar to where like I'm very interested in learning how to hand letter at all. I feel like for me, the scaffolding, to use a teacher term, that I need is to kind of start with digital, just because I find it very forgiving.
And like, to be honest, like, I was still workshopping the words, and so like I was scared. I mean, it intimidates me to like rasterize the text layer and then commit to it. So I'm like, I want to keep it in text as long as I can, so I can like, get the words right. Yeah.
I mean, until you're ready to take it away from me. Yeah, that's how I feel too.
Yeah.
Adobe Fresco. Oh, go ahead, Javier.
I was going to say one last bit of free advertisement for her like Ames guide. All of her tools, by the way, if you're not like confident or aware of how to use them, she had the foresight to make a notes document that README, and it
Of
literally
course.
breaks down how to use it.
So smart.
Oh
Amazing.
yeah, and there's even like even if you're still like having some questions, Google absolutely your friend. I had a similar moment where I was actually using the real, physical Ames guide for this comic, and I didn't quite remember what the standard ratio that you need to use. Um, just looked it up. And granted, nothing is set in stone. It's just what works for the majority of people.
That's so cool.
This is
That is
impressive. This is so
Thank
impressive. I'm looking through it now on my phone. Like
Yeah.
even more reason to just go back in time and just be like applause for the Emerging Artist Award at CXC. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like emerging artists. This is a craft and care of a veteran. You know what I mean? So
No, and
wow.
and what I mean, and again, this is again to keep plugging the YouTube channel, but it very much, and she talked about this, was very much, her way of giving back to a community that means a lot to her and to us, and we're certainly as C3, we're so appreciative of that.
Yeah.
I,
Instant proud.
I want to move on to Javier's page, but I can't move on without telling Chandu, I don't know how you draw hands like that. I'm super jealous of it, and they're gorgeous. But we're gonna.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hold on. One thing as you move on to Javier, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken, Chandu and the hands. I think Chandu, didn't you get to do the cover of O Comics? And wasn't it a hand?
It was hands.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
I didn't
I
know
love
that.
hands.
Absolute sadist.
Right. Yeah. I
So,
completely get it. And yeah,
yeah.
it's a
What is
challenge.
it?
Like,
Horses, hands, and perspective.
Right.
The triad of
Some people it's
evil.
horses. For me, it's hands. But like again, yeah. Still work in progress.
Okay.
But thank
Javier,
you. Appreciate it.
So Javier, I love hearing that this is completely 100% traditional.
I don't want to say 100% because I did do corrections digitally.
Okay.
But a lot of because like I said, I hadn't done like a 100% comic traditionally in a long time. That wasn't just a one-off sketch or just kind of bullshitting around. So it was a lot of self-teaching between like how to keep things clean, the size of lettering, like I said earlier, as well as making sure that things are centered in the bubbles. That is, if you've ever done like hand lettering when it comes to like bubbling, it is really difficult to make sure all like if you do multi-tier lines that they're all centered and not like the second or third one is like a little to the left because you underestimated the the space it's going to exist in when you write the whole thing. So I did learn that the Deleter Inc., your friend, is absolutely your friend.
Yeah, I mean that what you're describing is one of the main things that prevents me from wanting to, or not wanting to. I very much want to, from feeling confident in trying hand lettering, is that orientation and alignment business, and making sure my kerning looks good and my lead looks good and all my.
It is trial and error. Just like parallel parking, it's going to be hard for the first couple times, but it'll be second instinct once you like just do it more.
Yeah. Well, have you? So you're mostly digital these days, if I'm understanding. I think is Hex in the West all digital?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm probably going to switch to maybe a 50-50 split. But right now, I just want to, be able to bring it out as quickly as possible. I don't want any delays due to like me experimenting in
Sure.
it and running to like some weird, hiccups. But right now it's completely digital. But I am making sure to keep things like texture brushes is no shame to use texture brushes, but I really love that personal touch when you do like hatched lines like I did in was it panel 3?
Mhm.
It looks so nice with like how imperfect it is.
Yep.
So yeah. So even if I do digital, I like to try and keep things analog.
Is there
Yeah.
another project you could see yourself doing, going back to analog after just having, just kind of having this experience? Is there like a side project once things calm down for you that you'd want to mess around with again, or are you really satisfied with your kind of workflow that you have right now?
Right now, I kind of just want to dedicate what time I have to complete the ongoing story I'm doing. But I could definitely see like you know nothing major, so I can get the basics down, and then yeah, I would love to be one of those people that pumps out just stellar comics with a nib pen.
Maybe a C3 exclusive for anthologies would be Javier only doing analog. The only place you see analog comics from Javier is
The analog anthology.
yeah, yeah.
Andy,
So
I'm gonna put that in my notes. The
that's like a
analog.
burden I just threw on Javier.
I don't know. I think MS Harkness has that on me. She uses brush, and I can't. Her line thickness is
Oh,
so consistent.
it's fantastic. I found about her through the Columbus Scribbler, and just blown away by that art.
Hmm.
I mean, talking about black and white values and everything.
It's
And the reason I asked about digital, so is Hex in the West your first like big project that you did digitally, or had you kind of done digital? Had you kind of volleyed between digital and traditional before that?
um um yeah, no, I think I've definitely gone back and forth a little bit. I did start drawing. I mean, I besides sketching, I'm like the notepad notebooks or side of tests in school. Um, I found myself drawing digitally. Got myself a tablet, got myself a paint tool Sai, and that's where I learned really how to like do all the basics. So um, kind of when I was in school, I definitely tried to challenge myself to go more traditional, and it was quite a challenge. And I feel like I learned a lot of great things that I can like pull into when I go back to digital, which I did, and I found a lot. I saw a lot of improvements that way. So if you're finding yourself being stagnant, that's such a really great thing to try and do to change your workflow.
I love that advice.
Agreed.
Do you what? Forgive me if you said it already. Which program do you use for your digital?
Right now, Procreate.
Okay.
I do my corrections on Clip Studio. Um, I prefer it to Photoshop, to be honest. I'm not going to spend $20 a month just for Photoshop. No offense. But Clip Studio also has this feature that can also bitmap it, and also delete the white areas, which is like really perfect.
Hmm.
And it's really seamless. You don't have to dig through menus, unlike with Photoshop. I'm just plugging things right
You're
now.
doing great. You're doing great. Everyone's got their notes open and writing all this down. It's fantastic. Um, all right. Any other Hunter? Do you have any other process stuff you want to go over with Javier? I just want to go back again to your use of panel border shapes and everything. I just I love the variety in that. I love the negative space and making yourself small here. It's just fantastic composition and cartooning choices. Just well done.
It makes me
Thank you
wonder
very
what this would
much.
look like with a black background. It's like I was just kind of visualizing it with a black background and thinking that it would still pop out. Like all these panels would still pop out. It's almost like just the beauty of all these cuts. It just makes me think of like a die cut cover as well. I just start thinking of like different mediums, thinking different visuals, and just the way everything's so clean and really technical that like I could see the depth of lines, the line weight and all that depth, even like on the bottom curves and stuff like that. That's just the dip pen, So wow, yeah. People are, if anyone's watching this, they're like, what are they talking about? But, yeah, it's beautiful. So
Beautiful.
Yeah, don't let it intimidate you. You can do some real wild stuff that looks, just stellar with dip pen.
Oh yeah, I can't slow down with dip pen. I start going, and then by the time I'm done, it's just like it's like an ink stain. But Jim Food is one of my favorite artists. So I mean, or Basquiat. It's like let's swing some ink, So yeah, slowing down is not in my wheelhouse.
Just drawing attention to the hatching you pointed out earlier, and again, the hand lettering, just so
the
good.
toning of the shaved parts of the head and everything. That was really nice. Little gradient built up there.
Thank you.
With the single hatch, yeah. So, yeah, this is a page that keeps teaching. This is a very cool. I'm not sure if you're teaching or if you're going back or if you're doing workshops. Oh, I feel like you got to grab this page and you just start red penning the whole thing and blue lining, like little layers, click them on and off. There's a lot of mileage you can get out of this page.
Oh, I don't think I could do that, but I do appreciate that. I'm flattered. But I can see how that is the case. To be honest, it's especially in the big two, like like it's the most common comics to be read, and I have seen so many errors in word flow, or bubble flow. So my mission is to make sure that is not me.
In panel flow too, sometimes, which just and I don't know if that's a symptom of the industrialization of the process that they have, or if it's just I don't know, editorial negligence or whatever it is. But I notice that all the time too. Not to rag on them because I love them.
No,
I do notice them.
Hunter, I was actually just reading. Sorry.
Please, your show.
No, go for it.
I am just learning how to do this. Please.
Yeah.
What were you just reading?
I feel like this is like one of those, conference room delays. Last thing, and then we'll move on. But I was actually reading a comic recently where it was like a double spread, and the bubble flow just was all over the place. I knew contextually with the dialogue which one came next, but they weren't next to each other.
I find, and maybe you find this too, you specifically with double page spreads. Double page spreads are hard to compose. I understand that, but there are several examples, particularly in mainstream industry comics, where I will very often just keep reading the left-handed page before realizing about 2/3 of the way down, sometimes even the whole way down, that I need to go back up and try again. Anyway, let's.
Yeah, that happened to me recently when I was reading this horror comic called The Nice House on the Lake, and it did that where like, so its paneling is beautiful, like the artwork, everything was gorgeous. But there was no clear indication that like when you turn the page that the content would go right to left or left to right, or like you would need it to read the left page first and the right page next, and like things wouldn't follow. And then I'm like, oh wait, this is going horizontally, I need to go back. And I mean, and then once I started doing that, I could see the evidence of like, oh, this panel was meant to go over, and like, I can see what they were trying to do, but it didn't always work.
Well, we'll just find whoever edited that, and we'll send them yours and Javier's pages so they can understand and how to compose a spread. Hunter, You kind of mentioned that you talked a lot already about variety and style, and I know that most, if not all, of these were created digitally, correct?
Speaking of which, this is actually traditional hybrid. I do hybrids. So
Fantastic.
so
Okay.
look right there on the wizard one.
Yes.
This was a 14 panel. No, 14 panel. This was I meant to say legal size paper. So 8.5 by 14. And I originally was going to do a different principle and element of design and art in each one of these. And then I was like, what am I doing? And I just went into the iPad and said, we're going to take what we have and throw 9 panel grid and then throw the little me on top of it and call it a day. So yeah, this is which is a nice little mechanical blue LED.
So great.
You know what I mean? So I work hybrid a lot. In fact, to build my confidence up, I was drawing in a sketchbook, playing around with the Ivan Bernetti style as well. There's a great book that Ivan Bernetti put out, and it's for kids to teach them about comics, but it has a who's who of cartoonists, well-known cartoonists giving lessons. I'm like, this is a freaking like a Uber study guide. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this, if you want to go back to basics or re-evaluate fundamentals or just get the wonder of comics again and cartooning, this is a beautiful book. I don't know where. Oh, you know what? It's in my backpack, and that's too far away. But I mean, we'll throw it up on the Discord eventually. You know, in inspiration. So yeah, if you haven't joined our Discord, you know, we have a C3 Discord where there's all kinds of subcategories that go over the process of cartooning, comics, gaming. There's people that are working on tabletop RPGs right now, including Raw. In fact, you know, like one of those, that beautiful bookcase that Kyle pointed out. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of those kind of assets and materials popping up in some of Raw's, you know, tabletop, you know, campaigns and design. You know, so we cover a lot of different things, a lot of different techniques, processes, and all like that. It's a place where if you're a young creator or not young creator, but wanting to just have a community and fellow creators in the trenches, it's a great place to go to. So, and that's where you also get to kind of the first type of call outs for various shows that are around for table opportunities, as well as when we do our anthologies. So once again, that's Discord. If somebody can throw that in the comment section, actually, you know what? If not that, it's on the Instagram. Is it still on the Instagram? When we go to Instagram, you can connect to the link.
I think it is still on the Instagram.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to find out how to share our link to Discord, but I also think I found the book you're talking about. Is it Comics Easy as ABC?
that's exactly the book. Yeah. You want to throw it up there real quick?
Yeah. Let me find it.
Then we can get back to my stuff if you want to.
Oh,
or not.
Well, of course, I want to.
But the ABC, like I literally I'm enjoying this book and just enjoying slowing down. I said I don't ever slow down, but I'm lying. You know, life is trying to slow me down. I can tell. But that is a beautiful book to the point where it's like I want more of this, and it has Art Spiegelman in it. It has Roz is in this book. Like again, a who's who is inside this book. Like they show the credits and all that though. Ivan Bernetti is someone that I'm slow rolling my study of, because sometimes it can be too dense for me, you know, and I'm like, and I have to really like slow down and try and pay attention to what. So, but I mean, this book was just more entry level, and I was able to engage with it right away. But yeah, it's Art Spiegelman, Eleanor Davis. I mean, like I said, it's a who's who. James Sturm, who happened to be at CXC, you know, this past year, you know. So these are people that you can pretty much see that have come to the Billy Ireland and come out here to Columbus and checked out the Billy Ireland, and you can pretty much follow up with questions and stuff like that with. So. And it's even on sale. Look at the price. I paid full price at Silver Sprocket in San Francisco for this book. And yeah, but
8 books is a favorite of mine. But
I love 8 books. Yeah. Or half was it half books or half price books.
So again, if you all have your notepad open, and you have Captain Hospital written down, you have Clip Studio written down, you have Procreate written down.
Ivan Bernetti.
Comics Easy as ABC and 8 books. And then after you do all that, you can subscribe so that you can get more amazing recommendations when we have more live streams like this.
So Toon Graphics is the publisher that Ivan Bernetti. If you go to Toon Graphics, it's a full-on educational school, like for kids. They have different modules and different lesson plans and curriculum. So taking our beloved medium and turning it into like, you know, resources for teachers for not just discovering comics, but also educational tools, children's literature, stuff like that. So, and which is which I'm a big advocate of. So basically what this was like, a lot of the stuff was done hybrid. So we had that hourly comic challenge. Remember that? We all kind of sampled a little bit. We kind of messed around with. Some of us went and did try the challenge. Well, so that was my like test run on doing some analog stuff and playing around with the cartoony stuff. So I was jumping between the hourly comic and this art, because I think I did the hourly comic in between pages of this, and as well as trying out just different page grid templates from another app. Here we go, dropping another app on the iPad called Comic Draw, made by Plask, Plasq. They did the Comic Life 3.0 that I used to help teach as a workshop for different students and all that in the elementary and middle schools. And so it's a really cool iPad app where you can get your sketching, drawing, layout, inking, and lettering all in one app. And it's a different interface, changes each, it's only $9. So yeah, so anyways, so I didn't want to burden myself with trying to do layouts with the panels. By the time I get done doing all the panels and grids and layouts, I'm exhausted. Like my spoons have run out, and I don't even want to do the comic anymore. And so there it goes. You know what I mean? So the less math I can do, and just get into it, the more I can use my energy to produce the actual cartooning and thumbnails and stuff like that. So anyways, that's kind of like what it is a hybrid. In some cases, you can see the blue line still, which will look gray when we print it, but I do love leaving the blue line. I'm just kind of like a sucker for that blue and reds. I kind of like leaving that underlying stuff, and I'll do a whole set of prints that have that still, like the wireframe underneath it a little bit, because it's almost like I don't want to say a wannabe risograph, like but I mean maybe that is what I'm thinking about or whatever, or spectral 3D glasses or something, So
Well, I like that it kind of exposes the process a little bit and kind
that
of
too.
lifts the curtain a little bit, and
Yeah, the emperor has no clothes by the time we're done, and then
who's behind the curtain, and it gives me a little, it also gives me a little bit of like that old vintage like plate shifting vibe of blue color process and everything. But hybrid digital and traditional is something I really want to try. I think kind of similar. I would probably do all my composition, all my thumbnailing, all my like panel breakdowns and everything digitally, and then if I can get a good printer that can handle the kind of paper size I'd want to use and the amount of volume and printing that I want to do, that's on my list of things that I want to experiment with. So I'm glad to see you being the forerunner of that for me, so I can kind of watch and see how you make magic out of it.
Well, I'll give you another tip. Prior to that, because that's how a lot of artists, professional artists work, right? They blue line inks. There's a step that you can do. You can probably also watch this YouTube artist named 1000, who's a really cool mural painter. I love watching his material, but do it in the thumbnail process, like reverse engineer. Do your thumbnails small or sketch on printer paper, cards, whatever. Snap your if you have the iPad, if you're using the iPad, snap that, and that can be scaled and stretched, and then that is your roughs, and then so that was the analog that you did, and then now you're directly into digital, and then you still can add the other process that you're talking about on the middle part of your workflow, and then so you're kind of skipping just doing like a hopscotch
back and forth.
Yeah, so I mean, until you're able to get to that other part that you want to get to, you could initially start with the thumbnail stage. Because a lot of people would do blow ups. They would just blow it up on a copy or their thumbnails or whatever, or their roughs, a small thing, and blow it up and do that. But now with the iPad, it's so our smartphones are at a point where we can just take the grid lines on our phone or the device, capture it, and then just scale it, stretch it to the document size that you're using, and then throw another layer on top, and then transfer. Done. Almost sounded like I knew what I was talking about right there. Almost.
You know what you're talking about. You do great. Did you guys all draw this at size, or did you blow it up and then scale it down for the page dimensions?
I think we're back to the pencil.
Just for people's context, because these are kind of mini comics, we just do a half of letter page.
Like a digest, right? It's a
Mhm.
Yeah.
digest.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's 5.5 by 8.5.
Yeah.
Plus, subtracting the margins for trim. But
Yeah.
did you guys? I know, like, if you're working digitally, you probably just created the file in that size. But if you had a traditional component to it, did you try to approximate that page size, or were you going for like a different kind of dimension?
If someone else can figure out the math for me, then I will work bigger and then scale down if it's proportional to decrease the scale and fit it into the thing. I still have to do that own thing where you measure from corner to corner. So I'll make a box of the actual size, print it the finished size, and then I'll make a box or another canvas with a different color, fill it with a different color of the size that, and I'll lay on top of one another, and each one's in a different layer because I can't do the math personally. I have like a disability with that. So Bob Corby has to do my numbers for me a lot of times when it comes to comics. So yeah.
Yeah, I do something similar. But the project I'm working on right now is I have to like do a fill layer because the dimensions are a little different from the one format that I want to do, and then a later format. So I have to kind of. Sorry, Javier, I stepped on you again.
No, you're okay. I think we both started at the same time, so it's no problem. For me, I did mine at 1117, which is the format that I did when I was in school. It's easy enough to scale down and be able to do not too much detail that you're not going to see it, but you're able to at least not have to worry about things being blurred or something because you have to scale up. You can scale down, you just can't scale up and have it kept clean. But I mean, even in my digital formatting, I make sure to have it at 1117. Though in Procreate, it does determine by your RAM size on your iPad how many layers you can have produced. So sometimes I'll have 11 by 17 at 350 DPI, just so I don't have blurry images, and I'll have 17 layers, all for me to use.
Yep.
And it just becomes a Hunger Games, like Battle Royale of what's going to be used for what. So
100%. Like,
it's
in fact, that's something I didn't know before I got my iPad. I still couldn't bring myself to invest in a full iPad Pro, so I got an iPad Air. I was like, for drawing, this is good enough. I'm not going to do video and music and all of that. But then I ran into the gotcha with the layers. I'm like, why? Not that it limited me in any way, but there were some features of Procreate that I can't use the way I would like to because I don't have enough layers. But
yeah,
I definitely played that game when I first got Procreate. Okay, so like if I just like make the DPI just a little smaller, how many layers do I get? Or like if I make the dimensions a little smaller, how many? And I play that game, and then I'm just like, but I can't do that. I need to have this dimension. So then now that I'm working for print,
Okay.
I really have to be kind of hamstrung with whatever the dimension has to be.
Or do you ever do the stages like pencils at as many layers as you can get, and then go do inks in a different? Once you have your finished pencils, take that flat file, then go take it in inks with another set of new layers, and then y'all ever do that? Like play around with that? That's like a really unwieldy pipeline.
I will say, unlike when I was using like Photoshop or any other one where like you can just make 200 layers and it'll be fine, it'll chug, but it'll live. It Procreate definitely helped me have some level of commitment, because Mama says I only have 10 layers, so I have to flatten all these layers.
Yeah, especially now. I don't know if you guys use the page assist function on Procreate, but that I love it, but it eats up your layers so quickly, and you have to combine
that's the feature I
or have multiple layers so that your lettering can be manipulated. And anyway,
that's too much 3D chess for me. And like I think I may have did that when I was trying to do a GIF, animated GIF. But I mean, you know what is bringing me back though is trying to pull me back to them is Adobe. Like I still have Adobe for graphic design stuff, but drawing wise, knowing that fresco, right? That's what's called.
Yeah.
Can you can do your t-shirt designs and stuff like that because they have vector brushes. Like I can go from raster to vector, and I'm like, God, you're. They're starting to make me look away from Procreate and look over there. And I'm thinking, man, I can knock it all out in one app. Just like knock it all out in one app. Like that's kind of what I want. Like if Procreate had rulers and guidelines, like Photoshop did, it's like I just figure out. Again, take the math out of it for me, and you're probably going to win me over. So because
you can't create a grid on Procreate.
You do have to get creative in Procreate. I will say it doesn't have rulers or guidelines, but it does have grids, and you can set the grids to be like 1 inch, half an inch.
And that's what I do. I snap that on all the time. But
the moment I realized that I can do grids and set it to assist the layers to assist, and it just creates straight lines along where the grids are, or even like in whatever direction that you're drawing, it'll keep straight even if you're not drawing straight. Panels are such a breeze, and especially when you need to draw buildings.
Yes. And the perspective help. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm such a knucklehead when it comes to perspective, so I need that. Well, gang, we're approaching an hour and a half. I want to give anyone an opportunity to say anything else they want to about their contribution to the anthology. I also want to give you an opportunity to promote anything that you have coming out, working on. I know a couple of us have coffee shops. I know a couple of us have books out. But before we do the promotion, I want to put a button on our sneak peek, our little book talk. Anyone have any final thoughts about a C3 function in conjunction with BIPOC Rock?
I'll just say that it is a handful of creators, but it's looking pretty mighty. And I hope when people see this, I hope they pay attention when we throw the bat signal up for these anthologies, because I'm just impressed. I'm not talking about my own stuff. I'm just looking at the quality of that's been in these anthologies, and I'm like, wow. It's like the little engine that did, not could, that did, so yeah. So pay attention the next time we raise the flag.
I just want to say, like, I'm humbled by being included and like working with you all veterans. So yeah, it's been a great experience, and I hope to contribute more.
Ditto. I love seeing all the different creators. I always like seeing everyone's point of view and like perspective as far as like when they or different ways that they approach their art. So I really appreciate these anthologies and these abilities to have these zines be curated. So yeah, I can't wait to see what else we can achieve and put together.
Yep. I agree, and I'll just end by echoing what you all say, in that the talent in between these covers is stacked. I feel like the talent in our Discord in general is stacked. I think we have such a deep bench of talent and so many unique voices and so much unique style and so much unique perspective. And I'm so glad that this little book we made highlights some of that variety. It's one of my favorite things about this particular book, as the pages were coming in, as I was compiling everything, the variety, like I kind of mentioned earlier, not just in style, but in content and tone, in subject matter, using your unique cultural experiences and your backgrounds to inform your art and how you expressed it in a limited number of pages, which is also nothing to sneeze at. Just well done to all of you. I'm so proud to be associated with it in some small way. And I encourage everyone. The Columbus Cartoon Coalition has our Discord, which is in the chat. If you were watching live, it should also be on our Instagram, I believe on our Facebook page too. If not, I'm sure we will amend that. We also have a Ko-fi shop, which is where you can access things like this anthology. Our previous anthology and coloring book are there as well. And just support your Columbus-based artists. I mean, these fine folks are hard workers. They're talented and well deserving of your attention and your time. And I hope that you experience it with this anthology. So thank you guys for spending your Sunday evening with us. I know we usually live stream during the week, so I appreciate you all taking time out of your evenings to hang out and talk comics. It's I can't think of a better way for me to spend my time with comics and then to commiserate with my C3 folk. So any last words, Hunter?
Yeah, let's quickly ask everybody what they have coming up. I will start real quick with this week. I'll be flying to Austin on Wednesday for several days where I will be participating in BIPOC Pop, which is an academic symposium made up of comics. Basically, if you knew SoulCon when I was in Columbus at Ohio State University, it's now become BIPOC Pop with Still Frederick, as well as a who's who of comic creators and educators in academia, as well as cartooning. Like a whole bunch of creators will be out there. So I'll be helping out with that event, as well as doing a little workshop. And then I will not be able to physically make it, after all, to LCAF in Modesto, California. Things have changed, but my work will be there in the form of a program book that I've been designing and working on, along with fellow cartoonists Amber Padilla and Manuel. And that, again, is a who's who of people that have been to Columbus, whether it be CXC, SoulCon, etc. So, and then after that, I'm looking forward to, other than trying to get to SBX, I'm looking forward to focusing on local stuff. Franklinton High School, GCAC, trying to get different community events in Franklinton as well as amongst C3. I'm looking forward to just being a local person and building community and building cartoons and comics, and hopefully getting in shape and getting healthy, because I'm about to ready to tap out. So, I'll pass it over to Javier.
I got going on right now. I am currently, if you guys have webtoons, or any of you viewing this have webtoons, I have an ongoing comic. You can buy it if you are too impatient. I'm right there when I'm reading an ongoing, but I have an online store as well for my first issue of Hex in the West. But if you want to tune in, I have a webtoons is updating weekly every Friday. Thursday. Every Thursday. You can catch me uploading Hex in the West as well. I think we're on page 11, and if I time things right, I will be able to jump right into the unpublished pages as well. I think it's like in 3 or so weeks. And currently I'm currently creating the second issue, and I got some big things on the horizon as far as this comic goes.
Awesome.
That's awesome. I have the very first long form comic that I've been working on. So before this, it's all been like anthologies, one shots, Columbus Scribbler, and so on. So it's called All Our Monsters, and I'm getting ready to start putting it up on my Ko-fi page as well. So yeah, stay tuned there.
Oh, and O Comics Anthology. So by May for Space, the theme is coffee. So a who's who of Ohio, Michigan based creators will be in that, and Bob Corby, which I believe we'll be interviewing pretty soon. As we ramp up the space, we'll probably have a lot of different coverage, because I believe we're also helping out with some of that coverage. So, Chandu, are you in this issue of Coffee? Did you join up on this one?
Not yet, but yeah.
Okay, we got till April 1st to get our pages in. I haven't started yet either. So, but typical. Okay, so Kyle, what about you? What do you got coming out?
Well, right now, I'm not announced anything. But currently, you can you can find my my first ever printed comic. Actually, I have a visual aid here. This is Cornelius Armstrong, Adventures and Antics, Volume 1. I tried doing it as a webcomic, but I'm finding that taking time and making it the way that I want is not conducive to doing a weekly webcomic schedule. So the next volume will be out soon-ish, hopefully. But while you wait, you can check out this is the first couple dozen episodes. They're all mostly largely one and done page gags featuring a circus strongman who is a bear with a mustache hanging out with his circus friends.
I love that aesthetic. I love that cover. Those
Yeah,
aesthetics.
thank you so much. I had it printed at Lone Crow Press, which is a local printer here in Columbus, and they did a fantastic job. I think the quality was great. I know a couple of you. I think Hex in the West was printed there. I think it was Random Acts of Winus also published.
I do have an announcement. I'm going there Tuesday to pick up the digest version of Rantology, Random Acts of Winus, as well as the ADHD and a new little how-to that we did with Bob Corby, on Mini Comics Day. So I took that, how to draw a monster, and so I like working with Lone Crow because I can experiment with different formats and colors and papers, and also the gnome stickers I'm picking those up Tuesday. So yeah.
Now, will that be available on your Ko-fi?
No, because that involves shipping and mail, and if you ever met me, I don't have the executive function to get to the mailbox in timely manner. Okay. But what I do have is digital versions that I'll be putting up on there. So.
And Shandu, all our monsters will be Ko-fi. And Javier, you said Hex in the West. I know you said Webtoon, but you also have a online shop.
I do. You can find that all under, and I'll put it in the chat too. But hexinthewest.carb.co. I have all my social media in there as well as my store and my the webtoons as well. I'll just put it in the chat if anybody wants to look for it. But
let me actually. I'm going to copy. So Shandu, I see you shared this. I'm going to. I apologies to everyone. I am learning StreamYard today, and I think I know how to make a banner now. Maybe.
There we go. I think that worked.
Okay. Oh, this is exciting. Learning new things is my favorite.
Yeah, when I get back in town, Kyle, if you want, we can on mine. We can just do a session where I just show you how I run things and whatnot. So, you did great, by the way. First time hosting and first time learning this app.
Well, when you have guests like this, how could you fail? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I want to say to the people out there who are watching this in the future or now, check out the anthology. The fine people on this stream, read their books, buy their stuff, and support their work, because they're amazing, incredible artists, each and every one of them. Join our Discord. Please join our Discord.
Check out the streams that Ethan, our normal host, who runs the streams.
Ethan, we miss you. He was unavailable today, and I learn at your feet, sir. So I hope all is well and look forward to you being back on the channel soon. But let me see. Can I add the? I'll tell you what. I can add the Instagram. Maybe it's c3.ohio at Instagram. So, like I said, everyone, please check out their work. We are a growing community, and we want you to be a part of it if you're in the Central Ohio area. We even have people who are just in the greater Columbus area, or people who are even associated with shows we do in Columbus, who are not necessarily Columbus based, but have a comics home here in Columbus. We are very supportive. We are very open with resources and feedback and opportunities with things like tabling and things like open calls for anthologies and things like that. It's a wonderful resource. Don't know where I would be in the comic scene without it. I don't think I would be in the comic scene without it, if I'm even considered in the comic scene, because I'm paling in comparison to the talent that surrounds me on this stream and in this Discord. So,
Oh, stop it.
oh please! All right, thank you all.
All
Be
right.
safe out there, and guys, thank you so much again for coming. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, I'm going to end the broadcast.
Okay.
Bye, folks.
Thanks for having me.